Hello.
Good afternoon, everyone. I just rushed back from KL, and so just reached home. So,
Okay. Well, it's nice to have you.
1 second.
Ready for connection.
You only get a few seconds to relax a little bit while I give you the introduction. And then
Auxiliary mode.
Okay, sorry. I just adjust my speaker, so now I can. All
okay,
right.
everybody. So, welcome to the PhD Wisdom Talk Series 4 with Prof. Bajaya, who needs no introduction. Very famous economist in the newspaper almost as often as myself. And I'm glad to say we mostly have similar views of the world, so that would be very helpful to us all. So Prof's going to give us some insights today into choosing the right topic and how to think about topics which are going to be fruitful and useful for research. And so this is really very helpful, I think. For those of you who are just starting your PhD process, of course, this is ideal. It's an ideal way to introduce and begin the PhD journey. But I think for those of you who have already started and are partway through, you will also get some insights into how you can make sure that your thesis topic is relevant and fruitful, and it's going to have an impact, and it's going to be worthwhile. We're all looking forward to it. So, Prof, I'm going to hand over to you.
Yeah. So before that, I just want to request 2 minutes. I want to refresh 2 minutes, right?
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, we just wait for a couple of minutes. Yeah. Okay.
I'm ready. Thank you very much, Prof. Geoffrey.
I'll leave it to you then, Prof, and then you can take it away. Yep.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, our Dean, Professor Dr. Geoffrey. And indeed, this is a privilege for me to be given this opportunity to share with you this topic. This is not a small topic. This is a big topic because I know how you feel as a PhD student. When I was a student, this was a very important this is a very important thing in my life, because to most of us, PhD mean everything at that point of time. I mean, of course, later on you realize that PhD is just another path that we have to go through in our life. So I'm going to share with you. This is an exploratory and a provocative deliberation, and basically my topic is wisdom in choosing a research topic. Basically, a PhD topic has always been the center of discussion among PhD students and with the supervisor. And as if without the topic, it does not matter how much effort that you put, nothing is seen to have materialized. And in a way, this makes sense because no amount of work will matter unless it becomes parts of the final thesis. And without a firm topic, no work will be translated into parts of the thesis. But on the other hand, we also have to realize that actually the thesis topic is rather fluid and will evolve as the research will progress. And actually, the final topic of your thesis will normally be determined after the final Viva Was session by the 3 examiners. So before that, anything can change. So in essence, we must have a firm topic based on a narrow scope in order for us to progress in our thesis work, but we must also allow it to evolve and be subject to change slightly all the time. So we have to be flexible. What is the PhD program expectation? When you enroll into your PhD program, actually there are very high expectations of yourself, of others, of the supervisor, of the school, the dean, and so on. PhD candidate is supposed to be having a matured and diverged mind, analytical, and the concern for detail. That is the expectation. And PhD candidate also should have a young heart, ever ready to explore the wealth of knowledge. The academic wisdom, you must have an academic wisdom to break the knowledge frontier, the quest to explore new things, the inquisitive mind to push the knowledge border, the constant curiosity to find answer to the ever-growing unknown knowledge, and the energy and the drive to search for new knowledge. In essence, at least a PhD candidate must have an enthusiasm in pursuing research. That is in theory, because in practice, when I teach research methodology, I realize that at least 50% of the students in the class were actually not prepared for PhD program. They just enroll. I don't know what is in their mind. Perhaps for fun, perhaps for just to try. So only about 20% of the student in the cohort will ever be we can ever claim that they are really ready to pursue a PhD journey. The overall expectation is that a PhD student must have the adventurous mind ready to explore, and must always be thinking of the possible breakthrough in the knowledge frontier. At least I must think of some significant contributions to the new knowledge. Question is, what is new knowledge? The simple definition would be current or existing knowledge are mere information, and new knowledge are newly discovered information to be shared with the public. So that is the expectation. The expectation is you will discover some findings from your research, and this finding is considered as new information that can be shared with the public. This is still a very high expectation for most master students today, because actually more than 50% of the PhD candidate came from a master's degree program that does not include research component. So you have not really explored real research. Maybe you have done some project, some case study, but not a real research, and that's an issue. But that is not a very important issue. When my own experience is when I was doing my MBA, Masters in Science, actually MSc, I was doing a consultancy job with a company in the UK, furniture company called Worcester Furniture Company, and I was challenged by the general manager to set up a management accounting system for the company, with a promised reward of £500 if the system worked at the end. Of course, I got my master's, but I didn't get the £500. Well, that is expected, because I mean, this is a company that has 30 acres of factory, and I have to take into account all those material lying down on the factory floor to account them, so that the company can prepare a management account every month. Things which I think until today they still couldn't solve the problem. Okay, to me the first step. So I mean, in my case, I was never exposed to a real research. When I went for my PhD, I went for my PhD at the University of London, at University College London, and my supervisor was very good at model building. He had prepared general equilibrium model of economies in the Middle East, in Africa, and so he wanted me to emulate and prepare a general equilibrium model for Malaysia, and that's essentially microeconomic research. And my background was an accountant. But that was not a real problem, because I completed my thesis within 16 months with a lot of help from many people. But I was not exposed with any research before that. Okay, I think the major problem with the PhD candidate this day, and this is actually perhaps also apply to years before, is the thinking constraint. What do we mean by thinking constraint? We practice logical thinking as the basic thinking approach all our life, and logic is the only thinking approach known and practiced by most of us. And what is wrong with logic is it is judgmental in nature, and it is being limited by the database or the logic base that we have accumulated in terms of experience, perception, norms, way of life, and culture. And to make it worse, ego is the feeling of self-importance. Ego is controlling our thought in logical thinking, preventing us from crossing the boundary of logic. What is the boundary of logic? is all those database that we had in our mind. So judgmental thinking is based on the fitting games principle, where we match and fit whatever we see in front of us with our logic base, and we only accept what fits to our logic base. So anything that does not fit, we will just chop and reject. So ego is the main stumbling block in thinking, preventing us from exploring or accepting anything that does not fit to our logic base. And when we are able to cross the boundary of logic, we will just settle with all the stale ideas within the logic base. And so, what can we expect of our PhD research? Some still recycle ideas and finding from the research in the past. And so at most we will be proving that the hypothesis is proven again in your particular location, or you have proven that the hypothesis is wrong, and things like that. So logical thinking is the process of arranging and rearranging perception and experience so that we have a clearer view of things. So the job of the thinking really is to clarify perception. And everything is based on this thinking paradigm, which is our database. And when we practice logical thinking, we are actually thinking within the box. And when we are thinking within the box, our scope of thinking is confined to anything within that box because they cannot see outside. So there are two stages of thinking: the soft divergent and the hard convergent. The soft divergent means we need to explore as wide as possible before we opt to narrow down on a particular subject that interests us. So ego is controlling our mind, and ego is always working against us in going outside the logic. So in what we need to do actually in thinking is to try to suppress our ego in thinking, so that we will have what we will later term as the fluid logic. So the first step in teaching thinking must be to provide bypass to this instant judgment. We must avoid from making any instant judgment, rejecting idea, rejecting something or anything that is not fit or related to our logic. This is how our logic-based work. We have this database, and it is surrounded by our ego. And every time we see the world, we will try to fit and compare it with our logic base. And if it does not fit, ego will quickly reject it. Okay, anyway, so the first effort in PhD journey is to convert our rock logic thinking approach to fluid logic. Rock logic means rigidly allowing ego to control our mind and constraining our move. Fluid logic means having a flexible ego and allow us to push the boundary of logic conveniently, and we must be able to suppress our ego sometime. That means we must learn to be more
Prof, you're muted. Prof.
sorry, I've been talking for many minutes alone, I think. I'm so sorry.
Just like 1 or 2 minutes, Prof.
Okay, sorry. Okay. Essentially, what I was saying is that we need to convert our logic, rock logic thinking approach to fluid logic. Rock logic means we allow ego to control our mind, and fluid logic means we must be in control and we must be able to suppress our ego and work out on it conveniently. We must learn to be more flexible in thinking, moving between logic and creativity and complementary thinking approach. So exploratory thinking approach must be our culture in thinking. Okay, the basic training in fluid logic thinking, we can use, there are many methods, mechanical method that can force our logical thinking to move to creativity when needed. But the two methods here I will share is called the escape method. Escape methods mean throwing some established norm. For example, if the established knowledge is company must have manager and employee, you just escape by throwing that main important ingredient, managers and employee, and you will come up with a provocation, company without management and management team and employees. So you will explore the idea of humanless cooperation and moving towards possibility of, for example, an AI-based cooperation, which is still a relatively new idea that can be explored. For example, random juxtaposition is another method where it force relate a particular subject with some foreign remote subject or object. For example, we are working on financial performance, and we now force relate it with some remote object, say a clear stream, and so we will now try to relate financial performance features such as profitability, net worth, liquidity with features of clear stream river, beauty, fresh, calm, peaceful environment, serenity, and so on. So when we force it, we will come up with a new relationship. We will come up with some possible imperative. Now, next, we want to visualize the task ahead in a PhD program. Are you ready to be a slave of new knowledge? Of course, that's an over-exaggeration. Everything is about contribution to new knowledge. We always hear this from day one when you meet your supervisor, and you will meet this again, or you will hear this again in the proposal depend, in your mock viva, in the final viva, and in the end, this will be the basis of evaluating your PhD thesis. New knowledge as the theme in all aspects of research work. Are you ready and prepared? Is this doable task? What is new knowledge? New knowledge is finding that break through the knowledge boundary, finding that challenge the current theory, finding that is different but firmer than the latest research, model that is different from the current theoretical framework, approach that is different from the latest research effort, finding that broaden the current research perspective in terms of the location, the target respondent, the variable measured, the research approach, and the location. Yeah, the location is rather the target. Yeah. Okay. What if there is no contribution to new knowledge? Will you be leaving the university without a PhD degree? PhD is not a race to discover new knowledge. Instead, PhD is actually a training ground to embark a systematic and scientific research work. So we have to realize the fact that a research is a journey from curiosity to discovery. Just like a knowledge, or rather, learning is a discovery from ignorance to enlightenment. So research is a journey from curiosity to discovery. And so what is curiosity? Curiosity is a big question in your mind. And curiosity must be real and serious, and the finding must be really significant to be called a PhD research effort. And the documentations of the PhD research process is actually more crucial in the examination process. The 250 pages document that you submitted will be examined from cover to cover to measure whether it has documented well the process of research, the journey from curiosity to discovery. That is why I always emphasize with my PhD student that your problem statement must start with curiosity. Otherwise, you are not basically describing the research properly. However, no one will embark into a serious 3 years research effort just to learn to do research systematically and scientifically. Every PhD candidate always have at the back of their mind that hopefully they will discover some new knowledge. And I hope that all of you will have this because as long as you are learning how to do research correctly, you will also have a byproduct which can actually land you an award, an interesting job, or publication in some recognized journal, for example. Dare to fail. Is there such thing as failing your PhD? And my own answer is that there is no such thing as failing PhD. You cannot fail a PhD. When I was studying at the Harvard University, we were asked to do small research, and our professor was a professor that were teaching at Berkeley University of California, Berkeley. And at the University of California, Berkeley, the minimum period to do a PhD is 7 years, and some of them take 15 years. And why such thing happens in US is because it is the traditions of the university to actually disregard times in the journey. To them, you can take forever to complete your PhD, but in the end, you must complete a PhD with a piece of memorable work. In Malaysia, of course, everybody is racing to complete their PhD. In the past, I've supervised more than 100 candidates and graduated more than 100 candidates, and at least a good 10% of them were working so hard and were able to complete their thesis within 2 years. Of course, those days there were no rule to prevent a person after completing 2 years of research be awarded a PhD. Nowadays, the MQA in Malaysia requires that you must complete a 3 years minimum before you can be awarded a PhD degree. However, if you completed your thesis within 2 years and the thesis is really outstanding, the university, or rather the dean, can apply for exemption through the Senate, and the Senate will apply exemption to MQA, and you will be allowed to graduate earlier. So my point is that as long as you are diligent means very hardworking, and you are willing to work well with your supervisor, you will survive the PhD journey. It is a matter of time. Maybe sometime it takes longer than 3 years, because to me, PhD is just a gift. In Islam we call it rizki. Rizki means it's a reward, and some people will be rewarded, some people will not be rewarded physically. But that doesn't mean that they fail. So I have a colleague at UKM who has been working with me for over 40 years as teacher, and is still trying to get his PhD, and he is an emeritus professor. So can you imagine? I mean, he has graduated more than 40-50 students or graduate in PhD, but he himself could not get a PhD because it was not meant to be, for example. So your supervisor will never allow you to fail, actually. There's too much stake to his credibility, and he is always labeled as your partner in research. So so you have to work well with your supervisor. If you cannot work well with your supervisor, that's it, you will get killed, and you must quickly change the supervisor, for example. Please interrupt me, ask question if I am not clear. A PhD candidate must make up his or her mind that they are ready to jump into this hot oven for the long journey, and you must be prepared to find and explore your serious curiosity. To come up with curiosity is to be brave, to explore widely. A lot of us were not able to come up with good curiosity simply because we are bound by this boundary of logic. So you must always keep in mind that you must jump out of logic, out of the box. Then you will be able to come up with curiosity, and curiosity will be the roots or the seeds to good research topic. Break your logic and explore beyond the logical boundary. Right. Step in choosing a PhD topic. First of all, you must reflect yourself. What really is your area of interest, and what is your passion or inclination? Everybody have one. You may have changed your passion. When I was in Form 6, I always want to become a teacher. But when I went to university, I was actually forced to do accounting. They selected this few students and say, you must do accounting. So I have no choice, but I went through the accounting program. And after the graduating with economic, I developed an interest in accounting, but I also developed a special interest in taxation as a sub branch of accounting. So then I specialized in taxation, and so on and so on. So basically, your area of interest evolved. My area of interest today is on creative thinking in business, for example. So I still teach accounting, but my focus in my activity is in creative thinking, for example. And be creative is an important thing in research. You need to always put at the back of your mind, you are trying to break the boundary of logic. And so you need to go beyond logic. You need to purposely go against logic. You need to always explore the other side of logic. And then with that in mind, you have a particular topic or particular interest in mind. For example, your interest is in banking. Yeah, so you basically wanting to learn more about banking. How is that the banking system is given the privilege to create money? Is it not enough for the central bank to create money? We allow the banking system to create money in the economy. For example, that is the kind of interest that you have in mind. Now you review this research topic by reading several dissertation on related subject. You can just Google that credit creation in the banking system, for example, and you will find hundreds and hundreds of articles which you can download, and you then you collect all these articles. Just collect first. Later on, we will go through quickly. Then you choose a topic that you are passionate about to make sure to search for the topic that interests you. Follow your professor advice, but make your own choice. After all, you are your own way to becoming a doctor and an independent researcher. So you will have to work on the subject for at least 3 to 4 years, so that you should make sure that you take it. You need to investigate all ideas that you might have come across during your master's degree, and check out the all resources that you might have used for the previous research or degree. Rather than looking for one perfect ideas, it is better to consider several ideas. In the initial stage, you should be open to the craziest notion. Just start with one and consider multiple variation. For example, talking about the banking system, we now use that escape method, and we then throw away the important ingredient in the current banking system, which is the credit creation. So we say bank that do not have the ability to create credit, and that's the themes in your research, and you want to see whether commercial bank will survive if they do not have the credit creation ability, for example. Before deciding and starting working on the research topic, you should spend some time in advance to find out if what seems like a good idea is the right one. Make sure that nobody else has already completed a similar research. Try to bring arguments supporting the importance of your research. Test potential idea to see if they are possible. Consider access to needed measurement resources and information. We will go through this systematically later. So you need to keep your topic to the point. Most PhD students appear to start their PhD with over-ambitious project. And the key is to ensure that the big topic can be resumed into one central research question. And through testing, you can be sure that your main research question will change form and be as flexible as you can. And every good researcher should open up and adopt to new evidence. Especially, you should always mix with other academicians other than your supervisor, and attend some seminar, webinar nowadays, and you can get idea, and you can ask question more freely in a seminar like that. Seek advice from expert before deciding on your dissertation. Right. How do you develop your curiosity? You need to apply creativity to develop your curiosity, and inquisitive interest in other concern. Basically, you need to be nosiness. What does it mean? Once a while, why don't you, for example, even though you are doing a research in banking, do attend a conference on biology, or on environment, or on resources. You may be able to pick up some foreign variable in accounting that you can try and bring and relate in your model, for example. So start developing curiosity in your mind by pondering some basic and big question. Make sure the question is big, because the bigger the question, the longer it stick to your mind, and that will keep being explored by your mind. So curiosity is the big question. Push your mind as further as possible from standard acceptable logic. Develop question based on this far-fetched position, and form the question as a motivation to pursue a research in the area. And do not settle for basic simple question. Be brave to expect for a far-fetched answer to all your questions. And let's have big question and many questions. Any questions or comment? Okay, now that you have got the big question, it is bogging your mind. It is good. Keep that question to bog your mind for few days, if for a week, doesn't matter, because you have at least 3 months to develop your research intent, at least. Now, after that, you want to narrow down the possible research topic, and now you are more serious. Now you sit down and you go through the process of refining topic. Start with a general broad topic. Then the broad topic will be narrowed down using the following guide. I use 5W guide, and 5Ws stand for, the first W is who, and who means that who will be your target population and respondent in the research. This need not be so specific, at least vaguely identify who will be your population, who will be your respondent. The second W is what finding and implication is expected. So what is it that you are searching? And this should answer your curiosity. The third W is where, and this is the locations of the study. Is it going to be in a case study on a particular company, a case study on a particular city, study on a particular state, study on the whole nation, a national study, or is this a global study, for example? The next W is when. This is the time horizon. Are you going to do research on current period, on the past 10 years time series, on the past 100 years? So that is the time horizon. And the last W, why? Why is this research important? You need to project this because, remember, your objective is to come up with a significant contribution to new knowledge. So if you come up with a finding, will your finding be of interest to scholars and readers in the area? Okay, screen the research topic based on some criterion. you need to screen the research topic. And what are the criterion? First, of course, we must go back to the mission. The mission is to come up with a contribution to new knowledge. So the topic that you are going to propose must be original and novel. And is the research topic original and novel? It is, of course, not easy to answer this, because what is original and novel is also relative. It is original because nobody else have used the same topic. It is novel because the finding can be something that other peoples have not discovered. Next is relevant and significant gaps. You need to fill the gaps and make relevant contribution to knowledge. Actually, I will not emphasize gaps so much, because once you use gaps, you will be trapped back by your intelligence, and you will just actually be working on a small gap between two research. As long as it is a gap, you will just capitalize. But to me, a gap means something really big, like the Grand Canyon. Then you can be sure that you will make some new contributions to knowledge. Okay, so of course, you can have an ambition to try to fill the gap between the two canyon, but you must also be pragmatic. You must ask yourself, is it feasible to complete this research within time limit? Because you don't want to spend more than 3 years, hopefully, and the maximum of 7 years as the university regulation. There are specific topics that can be generated using this basic Q. This is the keyword SMMARTT. I call it a formula. And what is S? S is specific. This refers to specific goal of the research. So we don't want a too broad, a vague topic. We want a specific topic. For example, I'm talking about bank without the credit creation ability. My specific topic will be, for example, will bank without credit creation be a better financial institution in an economy? Of course, this can be broadened. In Malaysia, we have both the conventional bank and the Islamic bank, and actually both bank, conventional and Islamic, have the right and ability to create credit. The only difference is that the Islamic bank is not supposed to charge interest. The conventional bank is charging interest. Is that big enough a gap, for example, to exploit? And to me, that's a big gap, because the conventional bank, the process of credit creation has been around for perhaps over 1,000 years, and here we are trying to look at an alternative, and that's a big gap. M is for measurable parameters. This is criterion for measuring progress and also for measuring variable. Some of the variable that you may be using in the research may not be measurable. For example, many students will start their research topic by using a dependent variable such as company's performance. and company's performance is actually a big measure, and I have not really seen an effective PhD thesis that was able to measure corporate performance. Most students, for pragmatic reason, will reduce down that corporate performance to financial performance, because financial performance is easily measured by ROA, ROI, ROS, and so on. So they will use something that is measurable, meaningful in terms of outcome. So you want the outcome of the research, the finding of the research will be something meaningful to the society, and it can be seen as a new contributions to knowledge. A for achievable, attainable in terms of capability, your capability as a researcher, and the resources, the finance, the other resources that you have. R is for realistic, referring to what has been done in the past successfully on this topic. And T is for timely, the time limit. And another T is for the time bound, the essence of urgency, for example. Right. Any questions or comment? All right. You need to read other research and review what has been done and what is the existing results show, what did previous project involve. This is actually part of your literature review later, and can be included as a paragraph in your literature review, tracing the development of research in the area. How often are papers published in the field? Are your research ideas original? Is there value in your research question? Could I expand on or put my own spin in this research? How do you put the spin, for example, is by adding some fresh variable that you actually borrow from other discipline. That can be can make your topic really out of the box, for example. This is the step-by-step in determining research procedures now. Develop a topic that hold your interest, your passion. Then read everything that you can on the subject. Find a theoretical basis to support your topic. And this is a dispute always among academicians. If you come up with a topic that is really out of the box, of course, it is very difficult to find theoretical basis to support your topic. And some external examiner will be annoyed if you cannot relate it with some theoretical basis, the underpinning theory. But an open-minded examiner will welcome this as a fresh perspective. So you need to be quite careful in trading between the two lines. Look for a niche in which you can make a difference. Let yourself shift the gears. You must be in control. Fine-tune your topic based on the input from others. Only ask questions that can be answered, especially your research question. Yeah, and find available data. Some research are very interesting, but when you go further and find out how you can collect the data, then you got stuck. It is better that you got stuck early so that you can fine-tune your topic, so that you will only cover variable which the data you can collect. Think about your work as part of an international dialogue. Always think big, and think how your thesis topic compared to the world research. Just the detail, more detail about what we have covered before. The research question, also the more detail. Common mistake. What are the common mistake in choosing PhD topic? there are several mistakes that students and early researcher commit during the process of research. And the first one is extending thesis work even after graduate school. So a lot of you, for example, try to continue your research. You did your small graduate exercise in your bachelor degree, you carry to the master's, and now you want to carry it to your PhD. And the reason is because you said that you have done a lot of work on the literature, so you can just update the literature. Well, that is strategic, but the mistake is that always you do not know what is the real expectation of the PhD program, and so you got carried away and still use the old material in your PhD thesis, and later on the examiner will say that your PhD thesis is at bachelor degree standard. Actually, it was not your fault entirely, because you got carried away, but that is why it is better for you to embark on the new research. Anyway, the wider the scope of your research, the better it is you are, because there is no such thing as a real specialist in this world, especially in the area of management. You have to be, it is better to be a jack of all trades, in the sense that you know bit and pieces in everything, and then you do your specialization, a very narrow area in the end. Choosing a radically new research topic while still embarking on the broad area of specialization is the key to success. For example, today all of us are migrating into the Industrial Revolution 4.0. So that is a theme that you can capitalize. Anything about accounting, about human resources, about marketing, about quality control, if you can relate that with this process of migration with IR 4.0, you know that you are up to date. Yeah? Next is choosing an obscure, irrelevant, or non-compelling research topic. This can adversely affect the researcher's motivation level and can drastically decrease their odds of attaining success. Letting PhD advisor choose research topic for you. This is my own experience. I have many students that came to me without topic, and so I push them to find a topic. After 3-4 months, they're still lost without topic, and they beg me for a topic that is workable. And so I just give a convenient topic on research that I am working, but diverting the area or expanding the area. This is fine if the objective is only to get a piece of paper, PhD degree. But to most of these PhD candidate, they will end up as teachers in university, and the research topic that they will be doing are not of interest to them. They are teaching something else, and so for sure you will see that the effort in the PhD thesis get wasted because they do not publish from the finding, for example, of their research. So for guide, I will pass this PowerPoint to all of you. I put in here review of the suitable research topic, some research topic that has been done in the past, and I also put in here the way to come up with a problem statement, so that you will make sure that your problem statement is relevant in that process or journey from ignorance to enlightenment. And some short summary on the research, the state of the art, brainstorm project ideas, narrow down your ideas, prepare project sketches, discuss with your supervisor, decide and develop into statement of objective. Some tip on how you should be exploring about your PhD. Don't look for a perfect idea. It is better to consider several ideas and discuss all these ideas with the supervisor and ask him which is the most viable topic, and then start working on that. And along the way, if you get stumbled, you get stuck because of the constraint, go back to the next best topic and so on. But a PhD student should not spend more than 3 years to finalize the topic and to come up with the research intent. And then he should spend another 3 months. So he should spend the first 3 months to explore topic, then the second 3 months to start writing chapter 1, which is basically the expanded versions of the research intent, chapter 2, the literature review, and chapter 3, the research methodology. And with that, you have a solid proposal to go for proposal defense. And then after that, you just have to go for your fieldwork, another 6 months, and writing your last 3 chapters, chapter 4, the finding, chapter 5, chapter 4, the finding, and chapter 5 is the implication. So you should be able to complete your PhD thesis within less than 2 years, at least the first draft. And once you are there, you will see that you are on track. Some other feasible research topic for you also. This is possible research topic for consideration. All right, I will stop here. If you have any questions or comment, I will welcome.
Dr. Badai, sorry, this is Iqbal.
Yes, Iqbal.
Yeah, it's very informative. I think it's timely, your presentation to all of us. I'm also in the same stage. My question is, can the fluidity be, is it similar to, we can say, open-mindedness?
Yes, fluid logic means open mind. And the problem is, I mean, it is easy to say open-minded, but when you are posed with a particular ideas or suggestion, proposal, it is very difficult to accept. I have this big problem with all my students. When I give them idea, I ask them to do this, to that. In the end, come to the proposal defense, or even in the final defense, the old still idea still be projected because the students are not brave enough. They are scared that what they are presenting is too far from logic, that it will be criticized. And so we are scared of our ego. We are scared that we will be labeled, will be criticized by others.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes, this is Stephen. I have a question. You mentioned originality and then novelty in the research. Assuming someone has done a particular research in Iceland and another person wants to do comparative research in, let's say, Argentina. Because someone has done it originally in Iceland, would you say it's not original?
That is fulfilling a research gap. But to me, that gap is too small, too narrow. So the most that you can say that your finding is consistent with the finding of the original research. So what is your contribution there? It is so small, so narrow. I suggest that if you want to do that, try and explore other gaps as well. For example, change the target respondent, or change the research method. There are so many research methods that you can apply. There are quantitative method, qualitative method. In the quantitative method, you can use You can use secondary data, you can use primary data, you can do a longitudinal study, you can do some experimenting. My PhD was on simulation. I simulate the Malaysian economy using the input-output data. And it is PhD. I mean, as long as it is a credible research method. And you can also use a different time frame. You do time series, or you do comparative study between countries, and so on. You can be using the same variable, but try to create as much or as many gaps as possible to be projected in your research. Did I answer you? Yes. Any other question?
I think we have one more question from Giva. Giva Olavia Olaiwola Mojib.
Yes.
Giva, are you there?
Yes. Brother Giva Olaiwola Mojib. You have any question?
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
My question is, most time we have issues with topic and objective. I don't know if you can explain, give us a clarification, because some of us, once our objective is wrong, they would ask us to go and change they would ask them to change your topic completely. Is there a connection between objective and topic, sir? That is my first question.
Yes, of course. Basically, actually, to me, the easiest way to start working on your research is to try and build your conceptual model. And what is a conceptual model? Is essentially the relationship between dependent variable and independent variable. And dependent variable is your objective, your output. What do you want to achieve in the end? And your independence variable must be more than one. There are many determinants of this objective. And for PhD, I would always recommend that you have a in the middle, either mediating variable or moderating variable. And this will be your most important contributions to your thesis, basically. And then from there, you can write your problem statement and you write your research objective. Your research objective must be related to the relationship or between this variable that you are examining. And the research question must be in parallel with your research objective, also related to your conceptual model. And then after you have all of this, then you can sit down again, look at the model, and you try to frame the question or the topic. The topic is a summary of that conceptual model.
Thank you, sir.
Right. Any more? Okay, if there's none, thank you very much for this privilege. Thank you, Prof. Dr. Jeffrey, for inviting me.
Thank you very much for your taking the time with us today and for taking the questions. I'm sure everybody appreciated what you have. Now we have a recording of this, so people will be able to go back and take a look at it. But in the meantime, unfortunately, we can't give you the normal round of applause to thank you. But I think virtually we can do that, and I think everybody will be very happy. I can see already. Well, there it is. There's the virtual round of applause.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
So thanks a lot. Prof, for helping us today with the PhD Wisdom Talk. So for everybody else, this is not quite the last event, and also not quite the last time that you will see Prof. Joya and myself, because next week we also have a webinar on the academic gig economy, and that will be our final event for the IPS for this year. So we look forward to seeing you all next week for that event, which is it's a panel discussion on the impact of COVID and the impact of the gig economy on the academic world. So we look forward to seeing you then. Prof, I'll see you next week. And I look forward to speaking with you and debating with you next week on this issue of the academic economy. I'm sure it will be really exciting. So everybody is, of course, invited to that. Thank you again, and have a great evening, everybody. Have a great evening, Prof.
Thank you. Thank you, Prof.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Participants, we have the feedback form here. Please fill up the feedback form and submit to us. And we'll be using that information for e-certificates. Yeah, we'll provide the e-certificates for all the participants. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Naris, sorry, those of us who are outside Malaysia, I mean Ghana, how do I get a form and how do I do the assessment?
It's already here. I've posted the feedback form link in the chat box.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Prof.
Have a great day. Bye.
Yes, have a great day, everybody.